In other great HDZero system news, I think this is pretty exciting. Carl has posted on Facebook and confirmed to a post by Martin Flyer here that Martin was basically like, "Hey man, I'm worried because Fatshark hasn't talked about Sharkbite, and Sharkbite's the only VRX you can get for HDZero. So where are HDZero VRXs? Like, what are we going to do? And so Carl replied and was like, "Hey man, don't worry. This is not a realistic fear. We are designing a new VRX that should be on the market in January 2022. We're designing a new hybrid VRX that automatically receives analog or digital signal, and then it should be on the market by January 2022. And then also they're designing a VRX with LCD display and HDMI output. So to me, it sounds like we're getting a similar VRX to what we have now. We're getting a hybrid VRX that does analog and digital in one little box, and we're getting basically like a Bifrost like screen, like the old Bifrost screen.
Mm-hmm.
So DivaMath will own these.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that DivaMath is pushing the system and making sure it's staying alive. The promise of Sharkbite has always been that it would not just, or I shouldn't say Sharkbite. The promise of HDZero has always been that it would not just be a Fatshark solution. That Fatshark Sharkbite would only be one implementation, and other vendors would be welcome to implement it. In the same way that we currently have analog video transmitters from TBS and Immersion RC and AKK and Rush FPV, and they all use the same little RF modulation chip on the inside that no one has ever heard of. Well, most people haven't. And in the same way that works, that HDZero wants many manufacturers to be making this system, but the worry was that it would only be picked up by Fatshark, and then if Fatshark were to sort of lose interest or lose steam or do some of the Fatsharky things that they do, where they maybe don't innovate as fast as people might prefer that they would for whatever reason, then that would hamstring the whole thing. And HDZero certainly seems to be saying, well, look, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. If we need to pick up the reins and we need to sort of drive things, we will do that. We won't wait for vendors to do it. We're going to show that the system is alive and well, and when other people want to get on board, they can. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, just to clear up too, Johnny Five says when asked during the sale, when they sold those $99 VRXs, the Sharkbite VRXs, the response was there is not a new VRX coming that will make the old one obsolete. This one obsolete, which I think is still true. From what I understand from Carl's statements and what we've seen from him previously, there are new ICs in development, but they wouldn't be in these new VRXs. These would be basically the same system that we have now, but they would be just new modules.
Just because they develop a new IC doesn't mean that the old one is obsolete.
Sure.
As long as it has backwards compatibility.
Yes. Yeah, but right? I think so far we've not seen any indication these will be new hardware, but it is possible.
Yeah. I think the key thing that people were asking about was whether they were basically clearing house of Generation 1 so that they could then release Generation 2 and screw over everybody who bought Generation 1 who now doesn't have compatible hardware, which is a very DJI thing to do, although they didn't do that with a V2, to be fair. But DJI doesn't have a strong, like, is your Mavic 3 controller compatible with your Mavic 1? I don't actually know. They don't. Right. They often just release a new product with a controller that doesn't work with anything else. That's just how they do. And what they were saying there was that they're not going to obsolete all their Gen 1 hardware when they release Gen 2, and that is presumably still true. So they didn't say we're not releasing a Gen 2. I think they worded that very carefully.